Right now, I mean, if you look around, it feels like the West is just frantically trying to build fences around AI.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Just scrambling.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
we see this powerful new technology, and the immediate instinct for regulators in, places like Europe or North America is to just rush out and write these massive bills to box it in.
Yeah, contain it before it does something bad. That's the vibe.
Exactly. But on July 7, 2026, Japan actually did the exact opposite of that.
Which is so fascinating.
It really is. They set up an entire council to basically pull their national legal rule book off the shelf and start rewriting it specifically to let AI run the country.
It's just a staggering divergence in tech policy. Because, I mean, while other nations are agonizing over containment, Japan is officially reorganizing its government apparatus to figure out how to just weave artificial intelligence into the fundamental infrastructure of their society.
Yeah, and that's our mission for this deep dive today. We're going to unpack exactly what happened on July 7, why their motivation is, well, incredibly unusual compared to everyone else, and what it actually means for the future of tech.
So we're getting into the mechanics of it.
Right, but we need to set the expectation clearly right at the top for you listening. On July 7, the Japanese government reorganized a reform body into this new thing called the AI and Digital Reform Promotion Council. And their job is to fundamentally overhaul the legal frameworks around AI.
Okay.
But as of right now, this is a plan. It is a coordinating body.
Right.
It is not a finished law. It's not a ban. And no laws have actually been rewritten yet.
Wait, just to anchor this in reality for a second, because it sounds massive, does this mean Japan just, like, wiped its legal slate clean overnight?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
The laws on the books today in Japan are still the exact same laws on the books.
Okay, good to clarify.
Yeah, what they've done is create the administrative machinery to execute a massive review. So they are looking at the whole system and asking, which of these rules are written for a world with more people and no AI?
Which is a great question to ask. And to understand the mechanics of this, I mean, we should probably look at the concrete structural changes.
Definitely.
Because the government didn't just spin up some random new committee out of nowhere. They took an existing, super powerful group called the Digital Administrative and Fiscal Reform Council.
Right, the one originally launched under former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida.
Exactly, that one. And they officially reorganized it. So now it is the AI and Digital Reform Promotion Council. And the really interesting part is that the digital agency is running the secretariat for it.
And having the digital agency run that secretariat is crucial, right?
Right.
Because they are essentially the ones holding the pen.
Yeah, they have the actual power.
Right. So they put a plan into their 2026 basic policy to systematically review the laws governing how AI is developed and how it's used.
So, okay, since the laws haven't technically changed yet, what is driving this massive, super urgent review process?
That is the big question.
Because if you look at the underlying data, this has absolutely nothing to do with, like, a sci-fi fear of AI taking over the world. It has everything to do with the demographic time bomb.
The numbers are just stark. Japan's population is shrinking and aging at a pace that is kind of hard to overstate.
It really is.
Just to give you the specific scale on this, the population fell by roughly 3 million people in just a 5-year span.
3 million people. 3 million people vanishing from the workforce creates an actual crisis of physical reality.
Yeah, this isn't just an economic theory.
No, we aren't just talking about a little dip in GDP. We are talking about literal human capital disappearing. There simply aren't enough workers to drive the buses, staff the local clinics, or even just run the municipal government offices.
Right. Society literally cannot function at its current level under those conditions.
Okay.
Which is why the government has coined this term, AI transformation, or AX, to cope with the decline.
AX. I like that.
Yeah, and Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara, he actually stated at the July 7 meeting that the primary goal is to make maximum use of AI and digital technologies to, and this is a quote, free up time for people and businesses.
And that framing, it completely alters the regulatory approach.
Flips it on its head.
Right, because the Western instinct to add guardrails is trying to solve the problem of how do we stop this technology from doing harm?
Yeah.
But Japan is trying to solve the problem of how do we deploy this technology to keep our country from collapsing?
Completely different problems. And neither is inherently better, right? They're just answering completely different crises. But if your goal is to use AI to replace missing human labor, your biggest obstacle actually isn't the technology itself.
No, the tech is mostly there.
Right. It's the 20th century legal code that makes it illegal for an AI system to handle essential tasks.
Yeah.
You literally have to clear the legal roadblocks first.
But they can't just, review every law simultaneously. That would be impossible. They have to start where the bleeding is the worst.
Where the labor shortage is most acute.
Exactly. So based on the reporting and the official materials, and we should note the exact wording varies slightly across different government documents here.
As it always does with bureaucracy.
Right. But they have identified 4 main priority areas. We're looking at medical and elderly care, transportation and infrastructure, working environments, and administrative services and procedures.
And I want to jump in and clarify the legal jargon here for a second, because terms like infrastructure and administrative services, they can sound like abstract, cloud computing concepts.
Oh, yeah, very corporate speak.
Right, but they aren't. These are the physical, everyday gears of society. We were talking about nursing homes. We were talking about expanding electronic medical records so a physical hospital can function with half its usual administrative staff.
Real world stuff.
These are the physical systems that literally break down when there aren't enough humans there to operate them.
So wait, does this mean, just to play devil's advocate, does this mean AI is now completely unregulated in Japanese hospitals and transportation networks? Like, if I build a medical AI today, can I just go deploy it in a Tokyo clinic?
No, not at all. And that is exactly why this council's job is so incredibly difficult.
Ah, okay.
They are reviewing the rules in these specific areas. They are not suspending them.
Right.
So they have to look at the incredibly strict regulations governing a hospital and figure out, okay, how do we legally allow an AI to access patient data and assist with diagnostics, but do it without breaking patient trust or violating core medical ethics laws?
That is a tough needle to thread.
Hey.
But rewriting the law to allow AI in, say, a nursing home is kind of useless if you don't actually have the physical machines to do the physical work.
Exactly. Software can't turn a patient.
Right. So that requires a massive shift in government spending to actually accompany this legal review.
Yeah, and the government is putting enormous financial backing behind physical AI solutions. If you look at the draft AI-related budget for fiscal year 2026, it is a massive 502.7 billion yen.
Wow.
And the allocation of that money tells you everything you need to know about their real strategy here. Over 80% of that budget, so that's 387.3 billion yen, is explicitly earmarked for developing a multimodal infrastructure model. And that's geared toward AI robots and physical AI.
We should probably define what a multimodal infrastructure model actually is in this context because it sounds super dense.
Yeah, please do.
It is not a chatbot that just processes text on a screen. A multimodal model processes multiple types of inputs simultaneously, so vision, audio, spatial sensors, and text all at once.
Right.
It is essentially the foundational software architecture you absolutely need if you want a machine to understand and safely navigate a really complex physical environment.
They're basically funding the hands and feet of AI. Because a language model on your laptop, it cannot lift an elderly patient out of a hospital bed.
No, it definitely can't.
It cannot physically steer a delivery truck down a super narrow street in Kyoto. So Japan is investing hundreds of billions of yen into the physical bodies that will perform that missing human labor.
Which makes sense.
And on top of that, AI and semiconductors have also been labeled as top strategic fields in this new comprehensive economic package they have, which is designed to strengthen Japan's overall economic security.
And, the connection between that 500 billion yen budget and the new Reform Council is just absolute.
How so?
Because you cannot deploy fleets of autonomous robots if your existing traffic laws and civil liability codes make them straight up illegal to operate on a public sidewalk.
Right. If the robot steps on a toe, who gets sued?
Exactly. So the council must overhaul the legal framework to actually clear the path for this massive hardware investment they're making.
That makes total sense. But if this new council is reviewing the entire rule book, we have to ask, well, what happens to the AI laws Japan has already passed?
Yeah.
Because they aren't starting from absolute zero here.
No, they've been busy.
Right. They already have the May 2025 AI Promotion Act, along with the 2024 and 2025 AI Guidelines for Business.
Right, and those existing frameworks do stay in place, but we have to really understand their nature.
Okay, unpack that.
The 2025 AI Promotion Act was essentially a non-binding soft law blueprint. It was designed to promote research and development, and crucially, it had virtually no monetary penalties attached to it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No penalties at all?
Pretty much. It operated on a tradition of regulation by guidance, which honestly is very common in Japanese administration.
Okay, wait, but if the 2025 AI law had no penalties and was basically just a soft guideline, why do they even need a whole new council to overhaul the legal frameworks? Like, what's blocking them?
Because the 2025 Act was just a strategic vision for AI. The roadblocks they're hitting aren't the AI laws, the roadblocks are the non-AI laws.
Oh, I see.
Right. Laws regarding privacy, copyright, civil liability, and physical safety. Those are incredibly rigid, and they carry very strict penalties.
So the new council exists to force the rest of Japan's rigid legal code to sort of align with their flexible AI strategy.
Exactly. They have to reconcile the two.
And to understand exactly how difficult it is to untangle those rigid laws, we should really look at one of the most complex collision points they're facing: intellectual property.
Oh, copyright. It is a global battlefield for AI development right now, and Japan is right in the center of it.
They really are.
They have to balance this desperate need to train AI systems for their priority sectors against, actually protecting the rights and livelihoods of their existing creators.
Which is massive in Japan. So Japan's Copyright Act actually have a specific provision, Article 30-4. And this provision actually allows data to be used to train AI without securing the original creator's permission.
Which is huge.
It is. On the surface, that sounds like an unrestricted green light for AI developers. Just take the data and train.
It does sound like that, but the government introduced a major caveat in their May 2024 guidance. They stated that if a model is fine-tuned to intentionally imitate a specific creator's style, then that Article 30-4 exemption just vanishes.
We should probably explain how that fine-tuning actually works in practice.
Yeah.
So developers use techniques like LoRA, which stands for low-rank adaptation.
Right, Laura.
And basically, instead of spending millions of dollars to train a massive AI model from scratch every time, a developer can use LoRA to really efficiently tweak just a small subset of the model's parameters.
It's basically a shortcut.
A huge shortcut. And this allows the AI to perfectly mimic, say, a specific manga artist's unique style with very little computational effort.
And the government's guidance states that using techniques like LoRA for intentional imitation completely invalidates the safe harbor of Article 34.
So the intent matters.
The expressive intent totally matters. And furthermore, there's a December 2025 draft principle code that actually requires generative AI businesses to publicly disclose exactly how they are protecting intellectual property.
Like showing their work.
Yeah, including transparency around the specific types of data they use.
But legally, how does a court actually prove liability in these cases? I mean, if an AI generates an image, how do you mathematically prove it broke the law?
Well, output liability in Japanese copyright law generally hinges on two main factors.
Okay.
The first is substantial similarity, which basically means does the output look virtually identical to the original protected work? And the second factor is dependency, which is known in Japanese law as ikkyosei.
Ikkyosei. So think of it like a human student learning to paint.
That's a good analogy.
Right, because it is completely legal for an art student to visit a museum, study the brushstrokes of a master, and then apply those general techniques to their own original work.
Sure, that's just learning.
But if that student paints a deliberate forgery of a specific Picasso piece and tries to sell it, they've obviously crossed the line. So ikkyosei is basically the legal test of whether the AI operated like a student learning general concepts or if it operated like a machine explicitly relying on a specific protected work to forge an output.
Exactly. So if a generated image looks just like a known character, and that specific character was undeniably in the AI's training data, dependency is often presumed by the courts.
And then the burden shifts, right?
Yeah, the burden shifts back to the developer to prove otherwise. So copyright is just a perfect example of the thorny, deeply entrenched existing legal frameworks this new council has to navigate.
It's a minefield.
It really is. They have to allow AI to ingest vast amounts of data to learn without letting it essentially memorize and regurgitate the specific expressive works of citizens.
And right alongside intellectual property, the other massive legal hurdle for deploying AI in these critical physical sectors is data privacy.
Oh, privacy is huge because Japan's privacy regulations are currently clashing head-on with the need for these massive data sets, particularly in that priority area of medical care we talked about.
Yeah, because under the Act on the Protection of Personal Information, or the API, the Privacy Commission there takes data collection very, very seriously.
They do not mess around.
No. They actually issued a formal warning to OpenAI back in 2023 regarding exactly how they were scraping personal data. But at the same exact time, the government is conducting its regular triennial review of the APPI, and they are actively considering relaxing consent requirements for using personal data as long as that data is processed into what they call statistical information.
And the term statistical information is really critical here
Why is that?
because it's being interpreted broadly enough to basically include the massive data sets used for AI development.
Wait, okay. If I am a patient in Japan, I might hear that and seriously push back like, wait, they want to relax privacy rules so an AI can learn? Doesn't that directly contradict the mandate to protect citizens?
It sounds super risky on paper.
Right, because I wouldn't want my specific personal medical history swept up into a broad training model for a private tech company just because the rules were quietly relaxed.
And that inherent tension, that push and pull, is precisely why the Reform Council was formed in the first place.
Huh.
Because you cannot train an effective AI doctor on zero medical data. It's impossible. The model needs to ingest millions of patient records to actually learn how to, spot anomalies in an MRI or accurately predict a health crisis.
Yeah, how do they fix it?
Well, the council has to thread the needle. They have to determine how to legally anonymize and process that private data into statistical information so the AI becomes useful, while ensuring that APPI prevents anyone from tracing that data back to an individual patient.
It is a massive, delicate balancing act. And it's one thing, for the government to tell private businesses how they should balance privacy, copyright, and AI deployment. It is a completely different challenge for the government to actually implement those rules internally on themselves.
Yep, eating their own cooking, so to speak.
Exactly. And the government's basic plan mandates that the state must lead by example in adopting AI.
Which is refreshing to see.
Right. They are not merely dictating regulations from the top down, they are fundamentally changing how their own bureaucracy actually operates.
Yeah, because the basic AI plan commits to creating a specific government AI platform for internal use. They are building a massive data linkage infrastructure across quasi-public fields, which integrates things like medical care and education data.
And they aren't just talking about it, they are already putting this into practice.
Really? How so?
Currently, 180,000 government employees are actively conducting proof-of-concept tests with an AI system specifically designed for them, named Janai.
180,000 employees. I mean, deploying an AI to that many civil servants is a staggering logistical test.
Yeah.
What is Jinai actually doing for these workers all day?
So Janai is specifically designed to draft government answers and assist with their notoriously heavy administrative workloads.
Okay.
It operates entirely within a secure internal system, so it's likely utilizing retrieval-augmented generation to securely pull from official government databases.
That's tough.
And this allows bureaucrats to instantly summarize complex policy documents or, quickly draft responses for legislative sessions without leaking secure data to the public internet.
So it basically functions as a massive nationwide test kitchen.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
The government is forcing its own workforce to rely on the AI first. They're ensuring the data security, the accuracy, and the operational mechanics are actually effective before they dare roll similar systems out to the broader public sector.
Japan's ultimate stated goal is to become the world's most friendly country for developing and utilizing AI.
That's a bold claim.
It is.
Hmm.
But they are proving the seriousness of that intent by tearing down and rebuilding their own internal systems first. The legal overhaul begins fundamentally within the state itself.
It really is a totally different paradigm. So just to sort of summarize the whole situation as it stands today for you listening. On July 7, 2026, Japan launched a council to formally review and restructure its entire legal framework for the AI era.
Right.
It is a coordinating body tasked with a planned review.
Yes, not a finished law.
Exactly, not a finished law. And this massive undertaking is entirely driven by the urgent physical reality of a shrinking workforce, which is exactly why they are prioritizing a $500 billion budget for physical robots and medical care over a posture of fear and restriction.
And I think a lot of people might wonder, why should anyone outside of Tokyo care about a Japanese regulatory council?
Fair question.
Well, because it offers a tangible, completely alternate reality to the dominant Western narrative right now.
Absolutely.
It proves that how a country views artificial intelligence, whether they define it basically as an existential threat to be contained or as a necessary tool for societal survival, that view entirely dictates the architecture of their laws.
It demonstrates that regulation does not inevitably mean restriction. Regulation can actually be the mechanism for rapid structural adaptation.
Well said. Which leaves us with a critical, kind of provocative question for you to mull over as we wrap up.
Yeah.
We talked at the beginning about pulling the whole rule book off the shelf. If Japan successfully rewrites its legal code to treat AI systems and physical robots as essential, everyday workers, if they manage to successfully clear all that red tape around copyright, privacy, and autonomous operation, how will that shift the global competition for AI talent and capital in the next decade?
Oh, that's a huge question.
Right. Will the world's most innovative tech companies stay in jurisdictions where they are heavily restricted by fear-based legislation, or will they flock to the one nation that just rebuilt its entire legal system specifically to help them build the future? Something to think about.